supply. It's going to be very expensive, so he put some cost here additionally. He said, manpower is my own problem. I will do something and I'll make sure that our costs are the same in China.
So, this raw material support is just confined to logistics or other expenses also?
Logistics, warehousing, I should call it raw material and finished goods, also selling the consignment.
So, isn't it that if the raw material is produced locally and if you bring it to anywhere in India, and if you get a shipment from China and you bring it to the same place in India, wouldn't that cost more?
It's a good question, but if you go back to my slide 2, 3, 4, where I talked about how the world manufacturing electronics compares with India, it also tells me that the ecosystem for the entire raw material, the supply chain doesn't exist in India. So this guy will import. In fact, he does import most of the items from China or Korea or Japan or somewhere in Europe. So the supply chain doesn't exist except for some packaging material or some consumables. The basic raw material is all imported from these companies. Here he's got a little ambition that at least 50% of them are trying to find locally, on which he will get this 2% sales tax. So he has the logistic cost. China has the logistic cost. This supplier has the logistic cost within China, and the customer is going to pay something over this for freight. But all that put together, this guy finds he's paying more for it because of the reasons I talked about.
So this is just limited to the supply side.
That's it. Yeah. Power, we all know, anybody who lives in this country knows that it's a big problem. So not only does he have to have backup power, he has to have UPSs, he has to have quality control on the powers, on the power supply that he has within the factory, and obviously he's going to pay a lot more for it. And that is 5% vis-a-vis China at 2%. Finance, we know the cost of finance in India is far more. So if he gets it at 6% and this guy gets it at 12% rate of interest, it's just double. And we know the truth is it's around more like 14% and 12% for less. And he says, okay, let's cut the long story short, and the marketing, let's assume it's going to be the same cost between me and China. This guy works up to a profitability of 9.5%, the guy in China will make 19% of the same deal. Either the Chinese guy will be more profitable, or he wants better business, so he will take away 10 rupees from you and give it to the customer for 90. Yeah? Obviously, he will have a better chance of surviving. That's what this chart began to show to us. He went a step further, and he said, what is the investment I'm putting into this business? So like I said, it's a 1:1 investment. This guy was smart. He said, for every 80 rupees, I can still sell 100 rupees. A little better than 1.2. Assuming the Chinese will do the same. What is the cost of this capital? And what will be my return on investment when I make 9.52 on an investment of 80? In this case, it worked out to 11.9 or 12%. In the Chinese case, it worked out exactly double to 24%. So a Chinese manufacturer, an entrepreneur in China will make double the money that this guy will make in India. Yeah? What was it? Even more shocking in this case is that the Chinese system, and if you studied it, but we should, has a system of VAT refund on exports. So there is a VAT, like we don't have a GST very soon, I think somewhere next year we will have it. In this case, the GST or the VAT is about 17% in China. In order to encourage the export of certain items, the Chinese government refunds the entire VAT on exports. Now, in a case like this, where if you understand VAT, you apply VAT to all your inputs, and you also apply VAT to your outputs. If it's a 50% value addition, which means all the raw material is already paid, 17%. The value that he added, when he gets a refund of 17%, 50% of 17% is what he makes. That's the incentive that the government has given him in China to export this item out of China. And so he gets an additional 8.5 net profit into the bottom line. And when this 8.5 is added to this profit, this becomes a return on investment of 35, 36%. 3 times what you were making in India. Clear today? So we know the demand side and we know the supply side. He also understood that, I'll come back to this slide later, that competitiveness was a holistic thing. What it means is that he was the company, and the company played a very important role in how competitive he could be. But there was an environment around it, and there was a policy regime around it. The trade policies, the taxation, the infrastructure, the markets, whether they existed, the demand, the purchase parity of the people in that country, the exporting environment, etc., etc. And what this chart told him, he heard this somewhere, is that the competitiveness was actually a mathematical equation. So the company valued the most is the next raised to the power of 3, the environment to the power of 2, but the policy to the power of 1. He said, this is good. What it means is that I, as a company, can influence the competitiveness most, but he also figured that this is a product. If any of this is zero, for some reason, then whatever he does here will still become zero. You know what I mean by that? He understood that he was the most important egg in that entire competitiveness wheel. But he also understood that sometimes, if the policy was not favoring him, if the entire ecosystem did not exist, all that hard work might be worth nothing.